All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday edition of Finance and Supply Chain in Focus. Great to see everyone here today, and looking forward to talking about uh, uh, manufacturing execution systems. Before we get started, as usual, a copy of this recording is available after the event. We're going to take some time at the end here for some Q&A. And then, as always, we like to get your feedback, find out how we did or how we could do better, and most importantly, what other things would you like to focus on in a future webinar? We want to know what or get some ideas from everyone who's watching about what you would like to see. With that, if you haven't been here before, my name is Joe Tews. I'm a pre-sales architect here at Stoneridge Software. I have over 18 years in the Dynamics community. I started off back on Dynamics GP. I did a lot of system side work back then. I've also spent 5 years in Microsoft support for Dynamics AX and spent 5 years doing some solution architecting for Microsoft. And I haven't updated the slide in a while, but we're coming up on 3 years at Stoneridge. I came over doing support, and now I'm doing pre-sales. So with that, let's dig right in. And I actually don't have a whole lot of slides for you today because this is just such an exciting topic to dig right into the system, but just wanted to kind of set the tone or set the table for MES within D365. So this is part of our series of D365 has that, exploring some features, maybe some little known features within Dynamics, so that you hopefully have a little bit better idea, a little bit better understanding of what's included in your subscription. So today we're going to focus on manufacturing execution systems, or the MES console. It might also be called the production workspace or the production floor workspace. A lot of different ways to call it, but we're going to show you what you need to do to start utilizing it. So what is MES in D365? Well, like I said, a lot of times it's going to be called just the production floor execution interface. And really, this is just an interface that is a component of D365, but it acts as our MES console. It allows us to track time, clock in, clock out, record time against a job, consumption of our raw materials, and basically do everything in part of the process from release to report as finished without having to go into D365 itself. And the great thing about this is all of our inputs, everything that we track in here is going to roll up into journals in D365. So it's just another way to interact with your production and batch orders. And again, like I said, this is just included in your D365 subscription. There are probably more powerful MES solutions out there, but if you don't need that extra power, this just works great for you to be able to leverage this without having to have everyone record everything within D365 or maybe misrecording it. I've seen customers in the past who would just start the production order and then come back in and just do a backflush and not really track any of the consumption or any of the labor time associated with the job. So this is just kind of a good way to maybe track some of that information. Couple of prerequisites to note before we get started here. So obviously, if you're here, you're probably already utilizing the production module, but we do need to go through some of the production setup with routes and different information like that. But before we get to that component, we do need to make sure that we have workers set up. So in the HR module, if you don't already have workers set up, you need to add some workers. And then the key here is most likely you already have these workers, but you might not have the registration terminals activated for them. So on that time registration tab, just need to click on the Activate on Registration Terminals button. If the button is grayed out, you already have it set up, you're good to go. And then there's a couple of things that you need to set. The badge ID, that's going to be your main login. And then your identification is really, do you need a password or not to log into the terminal? And then finally, once we have our workers set up, we just need to run the terminal. So if you have a role that has maintained time supervision duty, you have access to run the production floor interface. And then a lot of times what we suggest to end users or to people who are deploying these out on the shop floor is you can hide the D365 navigation bar by adding this little code snippet to the end of the URL. So if you just add this and then save that into your as the favorite link for that, it will automatically include that every time you open it up. And then we also suggest that you maybe hide the URL itself by using the browser's full screen mode. So you're really just presented with the time clock essentially. We'll make sure I'll send this link over to Bree and maybe she can post it in the chat here. But we do have additional information available to you at this Microsoft Learn link here. I'll just go ahead and click it so that we can get that information over. So I'll copy that here. Nothing like doing this on the fly. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and dig in to the demo portion of this. So let's go ahead and jump over to our D365 environment here. So the first thing I want to do is just go over some of those setup things with you. So we're going to go over and look at our human resources module here. And we're going to go take a look at our workers. So under workers, we're going to go take a look at all of our workers here. So again, you may already have this set up within your environment. If you don't, it's pretty easy. Just add a worker within here. You don't have to add a whole lot of information. But I'm going to search for my worker, Luis. And let's go drill into his profile here. So what you're going to do is come to the clock or to the top here, click on this time button, and you're going to look for this activate on registration terminals. As you can see, Luis is already active on my registration terminals, but I go ahead and click on that. And then all I need to do is just come down to this time registration, and this is going to be my details for Luis's registration or ability to register time. The important one here is we need to know his badge ID. So whatever he's going to use to log into the terminal, that's what we want to use. And then this identification, this can really just be the password if we're gonna have one in there. Now it's kind of misleading. I don't actually have a password on Luis, but it's showing me that I do. So just know that it might show that for you if it is if you are configured without a password. So once I have that information set up, I can actually just go right into the production floor interface. And if we go to production control and go under manufacturing execution, you're going to see the production floor execution screen. Now we do have a job card terminal. This is really just a way that you could kind of clock in, clock out, have really just limited information within here. But the production floor execution, that's really where you want to be for this. And when you come in, this is what you're going to see. So on every workstation, you do need to configure your production floor terminal. So once you pull this up, you're just going to come down and click on configure. And if you have different configurations, it's going to give you the option to set that up here. Right now, we just have this one, but you can actually have it so that you have multiple configurations. So let's say that you have one work cell that is, doesn't really need job instructions, but you have another work cell that does. You could actually go into the settings, and I'll show you that real quick here. You could go into the setup for your product or for your manufacturing execution, and you can change some of the different defaults and some of the different settings for the production floor terminal. So you can have it set up however you want. So I'm just going to choose my default configuration here, and I'm going to click next. Now I need to define where am I on the production floor, and really you get your choice of if you want to do it by a production unit, by a resource group, or by a resource itself. So if this is Luis's computer and only Luis's computer, I could come in here and I could just define that resource. He's actually under, I think would be under the mixer resource here. Or you could define it as a resource group. So if I've got my mixer and my temper in the same location, if we're dealing with wheat, you could actually just define it by a resource group, or you could do it by a production unit. So this is your top level production unit. You could then go to resource groups, and then you could go look at resources. For our example here, we're just going to choose a resource group, and we're going to say that we're going to take our 1110 group. And so what's going to happen is anytime a production order has a route that's assigned to a resource within this resource group, it's going to show on this terminal. So I'll go ahead and click Next. You can choose your display color theme. Do you want it to be dark mode, light mode, high contrast? However you want it set up. I prefer dark mode, so I'll just stick with that. And now we can click OK. And now it's going to give us the ability to log into the production floor interface. But before we log in, you can actually see over on the left-hand side here, this is all of the information for jobs that are scheduled for today. So anything that we have within our production queue that is already out there and available, you can see that within here. But you can see here, I don't actually have anything. So let's go create a production order so that we can see that flow through here. So let's go back to my Presales sandbox here. And we're going to go to my production control and all production orders. And we're actually going to create a batch order today. You can do this with either batch orders or just regular production orders. But as you can see, I've been playing with Flower lately, so we've got some batch orders. We'll just do that one to kind of show you what we're dealing with here. So I'm going to choose my item number here. I'm going to say that I want to create one for my flower item number. And I'm going to create my flower bulk. And as soon as I put in my site, it's going to default in my formula and route information. And we'll just put in our warehouse, and then we'll choose a batch number that we're going to do here. All right. All the other information as we would normally set it up within here is going to be the same. So I'm going to say I want to make 5 pounds of this, this bulk flour. And we're going to go ahead and hit create. Now, you would follow the exact same process that you normally would as you're going through creating a production order here. So you would estimate it, you would then release it to the shop floor, and then you would go through and do your consumption and everything like that. But once we release it to the shop floor, we could actually go through and utilize our production floor interface. So let's estimate this order here. And once this is estimated, I want to just show you the formula and the route that I have defined for this item. So we'll go take a look at the formula. And this is just the standard formula. I'm taking some hard red spring wheat and I'm making that into flour. So you can see all of the default information within here. I do want to make one quick change here just because I'm pretty sure I have batch number as a dimension. Yep, let's go ahead and just save that so that we don't have to worry about that later. So real simple formula. I've just got one item within there. Let's go take a look at the route now. The route is really what's going to drive the production floor interface. So you can see I've got a route line here. We're going to temper my wheat. And if I go take a look at this operation here, and if I go take a look at my resource requirements, you can see I've got a requirement for a resource of 1110. Now, because that resource is in my resource group that I've defined, this is actually going to create a job for that resource for me. So no matter what, as long as it's a resource within that resource group, you're going to see it within that production floor interface screen there. So that's what is really driving whether something shows up in your production floor execution screen. If you don't see anything in there, it's probably because you don't have the route set up correctly. Because again, that's really what's driving that information there. But let's go through and let's release this down to the shop floor. So go ahead and hit OK and let this release. And it's probably going to go through a quick planning optimization. Just make sure I've got some capacity today, which I do. So this should be a real easy process here. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to go pull up that production floor interface again. So let's go back to my production control, and let's go find that production floor execution screen. And again, we're going to sign in as Louise here. So let's do 121. Oh, still hasn't completed yet. second or two here. There we go. So we were able to find scheduling, and you can see this is now in a release status. So now let's go take a look at our production floor execution screen. So if I sign in as Luis here, you can see we've got a job available to work on. So what you're going to see here is all of the jobs that are available to work on. Now, this is basically everything that we have within our queue that is assigned to this resource. So if we are not actually assigning this to a resource, if we're assigning it to a resource group and Luis doesn't have capacity, this might show up as someone else's. So, it's utilizing the scheduling of the back-end process in order for us to do this. But once I have this showing within here, you can go ahead and click on this job, and you can see all of the details that are associated with it. So you can see what type of a job this is, what we're making, and when this is actually scheduled for. So it actually scheduled it for 2 a.m. for Luis to work on because I have a 24-hour clock. Now, obviously, it's not 2 a.m. We've given him the option to go ahead and do work early, but you can actually control that as well. If you want them to stay to that time. A couple other things to note that I don't actually have within here. I do have the ability to bundle different jobs. So if I have multiple jobs here and I wanted to go work on them at once, I could actually bundle those jobs together. And then if I had included instructions for what I want Luis to do with this, I could actually see those instructions here as well. Now, the other thing that we have the ability to do within here is we can schedule a break. So if we're using this as our time clock, we can schedule a break within here, or we can take a break. And really, we're just tracking the clock in, clock out. If we're doing some other activity, so if we're doing some non-manufacturing activity, like if we have meetings or something like that, we can schedule or we can track those within here as well. But once I've got this selected here, I'm going to go ahead and start my job. And it's going to ask me, give me some basic information. So it's going to tell me how much is requested, how much is remaining, and then how much do I actually want to start. So if I have tolerances that I can go up or down, and I know that I'm going to actually have to create 6 pounds, I could actually come in here and modify this. I'm going to leave this as is, and we'll go ahead and start this. And once we've got that started, you'll see this now is in a started status. And if we go back to our all production orders here and we just refresh this page, you'll see that our status is now changed to started. So just like what we would do by clicking on process start, you do have the ability to do so within the production floor execution screen. So now I want to go take a look at my active jobs. So I've got that job started. I can come in here and I can see my active jobs here. So basically, this is just showing me all the jobs that I'm currently working on. And as I'm going through the process, so I'm going through and I'm tempering the wheat, I can now report some of my progress. So if I want to just report my progress and say, all right, I've done a pound of wheat, or I've done X amount of the tempering of the wheat, I can do that, or I could wait till the end. It will track the time from start to when I report this progress, so that I can see how much labor is actually being done within this. Now, the other cool thing here is I also have the ability to report scrap. So if we are doing any scrap within here, we can report that as well. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to report my progress. So I can come in here and say that I want to report my progress on either my formula item or my byproduct item as well. So again, for formula manufacturing, all of your co-product and byproducts that you're producing, you also have the ability to track that within here as well. So something cool to note for all of our process manufacturers. So I'm going to choose both of them because I created my flour, but I also created my byproduct from that. And I'm going to say that I want to report the progress. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask me what batch number I have used in or for my hard red spring wheat. So this is the batch number that I had originally put into the system, but I could also enter it within here as well. Same thing with serial numbers. If you are doing serialization, it will prompt you for a serial number within here as well. And then it's going to ask me for my good quantity. And as you can see here, it's kind of a big screen here. So all of the buttons are really touchscreen enabled. So if you have a touchscreen down on your shop floor and you want to just have your workers enter the information within here, they can do so on a pretty big touchscreen. So I'm going to say that I did 5 pounds of this. If I need to, I can adjust the material. So I can say instead of actually using 10 pounds of 10 bushels of hard red spring wheat, I can come in here and I can adjust that material. But if I don't do anything within there, it's just going to use the default and it's going to backflush that through. So I have the ability to do that. Now, once we have this entered, there you can see there's actually 3 job statuses within here. So it's going to ask us if we want to change our job status. So right now, we are in progress. We could actually stop this job. So if we wanted to, or if we were processing at the end of the day, we did 3 pounds, we wanted to report that, but stop the job, we could do that. So we stop the clock. Or we could say that we are completed with this particular job. So we have the ability to set that information within here. So this one was actually for my flour. Now I need to report my progress on my byproduct. I'm going to change my job status to completed, and I'm going to report progress here. And what this is going to do is it's going to go through and it's going to do my report as finished journal for me. So in D365, it's going to go ahead and create that report as finished journal, and it's going to push this inventory or this item now into inventory for me. So really, I've now gone through the entire process of manufacturing without having to go into D365. Now, we still have to have our production floor supervisor go ahead and start the order or send the order down to the floor, release it to the warehouse. But we were able to get everything completed within here. And if I go back to my all production orders here and refresh this, you can see that my status is now changed to report as finished. So now my accounting team can come in here and they can end this order and do my financial postings for me. So very, very powerful tool, but it's easy to get set up and get using so that you can keep users out of having to go into D365 to do their registration and consumption. All right. So with that, I'm going to pull up my chat here. Oh, all right, Austin, you've got a question here. Does production floor execution allow for resource downtime tracking? That's a great question. On the production floor execution, you can't actually track the resource downtime. We would do that through the asset maintenance piece if we wanted to report that something was down, or just through the regular D365 interface, being able to specify if a resource is out of commission. Now, would that take it into consideration? Absolutely. If we are assigning a route to a resource group and a particular resource is not actually tracked or not actually up and running, we would actually schedule it to a different resource, or we would schedule it to a different day if it was set up for a particular resource. So we can't actually report that something is down, but it does actually take into account if a resource is down. So great question, Austin. Any other questions before we wrap for the day? And again, if you have any additional questions or if anything comes up as you're exploring this, feel free to reach out. Our team is very well versed and would love to help you get MES set up. And also, just want to make note, we do have our free Stoneridge Connect Community Conference. That's coming up April 22nd. It is a free event. It's virtual. Please make sure to click that link to save your spot. Bree would absolutely love it if you all registered today. All right. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and wrap here. We'll keep you posted what the topic is going to be for next month. But hope you all enjoyed and learned a little bit more about MES today. Thanks, everyone.